was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. What's going on, guys? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if my sound is good. We have an emergency alert. Lots of stuff to go over. It's probably going to be a shorter update, but we have some serious news to cover tonight. You can hear me 5x5. All right, sounds good. Thank you, moderators, for showing up. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Lorna, Smoking Swamp, Ross Snyderman, K. Paul. Thank you guys so much. So I'm going to just jump right into the news and save all your time. And then I'm going to check the chat after I go through the news. NYPrepper, good to see you. So let me just share my screen. We have some very, very concerning news tonight. So let me just share something with you guys here. So hopefully you guys can see this here. But looks like NATO is going to be sending forces into Ukraine. Okay, this is coming out of Paris today. There was a meeting of all the major European powers in Paris. All the major NATO countries were there. And they were discussing whether or not to send regular forces into Ukraine. Okay. Now, I'm just guessing the reason why they're discussing this now is because the Ukrainian front lines are collapsing, and they're basically afraid that Russia is going to steamroll over the Ukrainian front lines, and they're going to start taking large swaths of territory from Ukraine. Okay. And I'm going to show you guys the latest map where all the Ukrainian forces are in a little bit. But it looks like Ukraine's front lines are collapsing now. Russia is making some very serious gains in eastern Ukraine. Okay, they are rapidly advancing in multiple areas. And so I think NATO is now panicking. Okay, so this all started earlier today. I posted a video on this earlier in the afternoon. The Slovakian Prime Minister, Robert Fico, leaked out the information about this meeting in Paris, where he basically said that they were deciding to, they basically decided to deploy NATO forces into Ukraine. Okay. And so Robert Fico, he said that Slovakia is not going to be deploying forces into Ukraine, but he was basically just warning his audience that that NATO is preparing to deploy forces. He kind of leaked it out. So I'm going to just read to you this article here. Okay, Western troops on the ground in Ukraine cannot be ruled out in the future, French leader says. French President Emmanuel Macron said Monday that sending Western troops on the ground in Ukraine cannot be ruled out in the future after the issue was debated at a gathering of European leaders in Paris as Russia's full-scale invasion grinds into a third year. The French leader said that we will do everything needed so Russia cannot win the war after the meeting of over 20 European heads of state and government and other Western officials. Okay, we will do everything needed so Russia cannot win the war. All right, and you got to see what he says here. He really ratchets up. Oh, I mean, really strong words from Macron. He says there's no consensus today to send in an official endorsed manner troops on the ground, but in terms of dynamics, nothing can be ruled out, Macron said in a news conference at the Élysée presidential palace. Macron declined to provide details about which nations were considering sending troops, saying he prefers to maintain some strategic ambiguity. The meeting included German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Poland's President Andrzej Duda, as well as leaders from the Baltic nations. The United States was represented by its top diplomat for Europe, James O'Brien, and the UK by Foreign Secretary David Cameron. So all the power players here, okay, the most powerful people in Europe, all the top dogs at this meeting in Paris today to decide whether or not if NATO should deploy forces. Now, they're saying officially that they haven't decided yet, but I think that's a load of crap. I think they already decided, and they're just saying that, oh, yeah, we didn't decide yet, but I think they already decided. And I'll read to you some more quotes from Macron and some other leaders. Thank you guys for all the donations. Evangelist Nathan, thank you so much. Charles and Christina, thank you very much. Christy Lee, thank you so much. And Ross Kleinman, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. That's awesome. Thank you guys very, very much. Really appreciate it. So this is very concerning, guys. This is very serious, okay? It looks like NATO wants to prevent Russia from steamrolling over Ukraine's front lines because they are on the verge of collapsing, okay? Ukraine is now building emergency trenches because they know that Russia is going to be coming through, and I'll show you some pictures of that. Ukraine has been building this massive concrete wall just west of Bakhmut and Chasiv Yar. Okay, so the Ukrainians are scrambling to prepare. Ukrainian and Russian intelligence both said like 2 weeks ago that Russia was massing 50,000 troops in the southern part of Ukraine and as many as 30,000 troops in southwestern Russia. Okay, so that's 80,000 troops right there. Plus they have troops in Belarus too. Okay, so looks like Ukraine is potentially on the verge of losing large swaths of territory unless NATO sends forces in on the ground to prevent that from happening. Okay, because Ukraine is exhausted. They've run out of equipment. They've depleted a lot of their ammunition, huge ammunition shortage. There's also a shortage of men on the front line. A lot of men have been killed. And, Russia has 4 times the population of Ukraine, so they can, continually throw bodies at the front line. But Ukraine has a much smaller population, so they can't just, continuously draft massive amounts of people like Putin can. Putin could just sign an order tomorrow, send another 1 million people to the front, and it's not a big deal. It's like a drop in a bucket, But for Ukraine, 1 million people is a lot, okay, because they don't have that many people. They're a smaller country, okay, so they're running out of men, they're running out of ammunition, and NATO is now scrambling to prevent Russia from steamrolling them and taking massive amounts of Ukrainian territory. So this is very, very concerning, guys. Okay, Ukraine could potentially lose everything they worked for the last year and a half and even more. Okay, they can lose massive amounts of territory here. So NATO is considering deploying forces. Duda, the Polish president, Andrzej Duda, said the most heated discussion was about whether to send troops to Ukraine, and there was no agreement on the matter. Opinions differ here, but there are no such decisions. That's what the Polish president is saying, that they didn't actually decide yet, okay? But again, they're not going to tell us if they did decide. They're not going to say, yeah, we're going to send troops to Ukraine tomorrow. Yeah, today. You're not going to hear about it, on the mainstream media. You're not going to wake up one day and on Fox News or CNN or NBC, they're going to say NATO decided to send 100,000 troops to Ukraine. You're never going to hear that. Okay, it's going to be done in secret. Okay, because obviously, if Russia finds out, that would be cause for a nuclear war. Okay, so they're going to do it secretly. So this is very, very concerning, guys. Very concerning. So, get prepared. Think about your fallout shelter. What are you going to do if there's a nuclear war? If tomorrow you, you're going about your normal day, and all of a sudden you get an emergency message on your phone or on your TV or on your radio saying that there's 1,000 Russian warheads inbound, and you have 30 minutes to take shelter. What are you going to do? Okay. Do you know how to identify structures that you can use for blast protection, for fallout protection? You have to think about that, okay? Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have enough food. Make sure you have enough water, medicine, okay? Any supplies that you need, self-defense, all right? So this is just huge news, guys. I wasn't going to go live tonight, but in addition to this, we have other news, other stuff that's worthy of emergency alert. But this is just absolutely huge news, okay? So let me just continue reading here. Macron earlier called on European leaders to ensure the continent's collective security by providing unwavering support to Ukraine in the face of tougher Russian offensives on the battlefield in recent months. In recent months, particularly, we have seen Russia getting tougher, Macron said. Macron cited the need to solidify security to head off any Russian attacks on additional countries in the future. Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, as well as much larger Poland, have been considered among possible targets of future Russian expansion. All four countries are staunch supporters of Ukraine. Estonia's foreign minister said earlier this month that NATO has about 3 to 4 years to strengthen its defenses. In a video speech, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky called on the leaders gathered in Paris to ensure that Putin cannot destroy our achievements and cannot expand his aggression to other nations. Okay, so wasn't I right, guys? I told you that's the reason why they're having this meeting. Okay, Zelensky's basically saying, ensure that Putin does not destroy our achievements and cannot expand his aggression. Okay, because Ukraine and the West have poured so much into this war, and now Russia is erasing all their gains in a matter of weeks. Okay, it's a very sad situation, guys. All that money spent, all the equipment, and it's now going to be for nothing, essentially. So NATO is panicking, and they want to prevent that from happening. So they're trying to figure out what options they have. Okay, they're trying to figure out, because even NATO has been depleted of artillery. That's why they haven't been sending artillery into Ukraine, because they've sent so much already that they've run out. And they can't send anymore, because then they're going to be tapping into their own strategic reserves, and they can't send all of their stuff, because then that's going to leave them vulnerable to attack if there's a World War III scenario in Europe. If there's a war between NATO and Russia, the NATO powers, they can't send everything they have to Ukraine and then have nothing for themselves. Okay, so, but, they're trying to spin up all different kinds of factories in Germany, in the US. Recently, I think it was in Texas, they just opened up a new factory that's going to produce like 30,000 artillery shells a month or something crazy like that. Germany is opening up another one that's going to produce like 100,000 shells a year, but that's too slow. 100,000 shells in a year is not enough. They need 100,000 shells now. Okay, they need 500,000 shells now, and they don't have it. That's the problem. They don't have it, okay, unless they tap into their own strategic reserves, which they don't want to do. Several European countries, including France, expressed their support for an initiative launched by the Czech Republic to buy ammunition and shells outside the EU, participants to the meeting said. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said his country decided to provide over 100 million euros for that purpose. Okay, so they're looking to buy ammo from other countries. Okay, if they had ammunition, they wouldn't be looking to other countries to get ammo. Okay, so they're clearly out of ammo, guys. Okay, so they're looking, for all different kinds of options. It's not a good sign, guys. Very, very, very serious. This is just totally, out of the blue because, they keep us in the dark. They lie to us and they try to, tell us that, oh, Ukraine is winning. They're going to win the war. They're winning, which, it's a lie. Okay, it's all a lie. And I support Ukraine. I want them to, defeat Putin. But it's, the mainstream media, they've been doing a disservice by basically trying to make it seem like Ukraine is going to win when they're not. They should have just been real with us and told us that it wasn't going well. Okay. But now it's this big shock and NATO is scrambling and they're considering deploying troops now. Very serious. Okay. In addition, a new coalition is to be launched to further mobilize nations with capabilities to deliver medium and long-range missiles, Macron said, as France announced last month the delivery of 40 additional long-range Scalp cruise missiles. European nations are worried that the U.S. will dial back support as aid for Ukraine is teetering in Congress. They also have concerns that former U.S. President Donald Trump might return to the White House and change the course of U.S. policy on the continent. The Paris conference comes after France, Germany, and the U.K. recently signed a 10-year bilateral agreements with Ukraine to send a strong signal of long-term backing as Kyiv works to shore up Western support. So that is just absolutely insane, guys. Here we have some pictures from that conference. Okay, so you can see Macron over here, and then to the right of Macron is Andrzej Duda, the president of Poland, and then to the left of him is Olaf Scholz. So you have all the major European powers here. Okay, you have all the big European players. You got France, Germany, the UK, Poland. Okay, all the countries that, if help is needed, they're going to be the ones that are going to be capable of helping. Okay, so all the major players were at this meeting. So, all I got to say is get prepared, guys. Things are going to get crazy. Let me just show you these front lines here in Ukraine. I want to just show you all the gains that Russia has been making over the last few days. So they just lost Avdiivka, last week. That's like that strategic city. And they've pushed so much further past Avdiivka just over the weekend. So what you're looking at here is right now, today, the location of the Russian and Ukrainian forces. This is the front line. So on the red shaded area, you have the Russian-controlled areas. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in time to like a week or two back. Okay, we're going to start going back one day at a time. So this is Avdiivka right here. just north of Donetsk. All right, so let me just go back here. So yesterday, you can see just in one day, look at how far they advanced in one day. Okay, look at this. I mean, that's a serious advancement right there. Okay, so that's just one day. Then we go back to 2 days, and we just keep going back. Okay. And as I go back day by day, you can see how quickly the Russians have been capturing all this territory. There's Avdiivka. Okay, so the Ukrainians held Avdiivka still on the 16th. So 10 days ago, they still had it, and the Russians were starting to encircle it. And so we'll start from the 16th. Here's the 17th, 18th, 19th. There's the 19th. And you can see just how fast the Russians have been advancing there. Okay, so very sad situation, guys. Okay, lots of sacrifices to hold all this territory, and now they're losing it. There's also some gains being made around Marinka and other areas, also in Rabotine, which the Ukrainians fought really hard to take. The Russians are now slowly advancing on Rabotine. Okay, very slowly, obviously, in this area, but this is not a good sign. So we also have some other breaking news here. Apparently, Israel is going to be calling up 300,000 troops. So Israel's preparing for a war with Hezbollah very soon. Here's a document from Yoav Gallant, the defense minister of Israel, asking the Israeli government to call up 300,000 IDF reservists. Okay, 300,000 reservists, guys. That is massive. Okay, they're getting ready for an all-out war in Lebanon and all surrounding countries. All hell's going to break loose soon. I'm telling you. Okay, please pray for Israel, guys. I have friends in Israel. I have a friend that lives in Israel, and he tells me it's extremely dangerous there now because you have all these different terrorist cells that are embedded in Israeli society. That's what many people don't understand about Israel. Israel is not a homogenous country. Okay, it's not like 90% Israeli Jewish people there. It's mixed with Arabs and people from other Middle Eastern countries. And, they have an open society in Israel, just like here in America or like in Europe. Okay, they're not a closed country. They're not a homogenous society. So they allow people to come in. And a lot of those people that come in become radicalized, or they're just sleeper cells. And then they can be activated at any time to go out and just carry out random attacks in Israel. Okay, and unfortunately, in Israel, they have very strict regulations for gun ownership. They don't allow citizens to own guns very easily, and they restrict how much ammunition you can own. I think for a civilian, you can't own more than 50 rounds of ammo, and that's if you're even allowed to buy a gun, which you need to have special permission to do. You have to be a volunteer in one of their security forces. Otherwise, if you're just a normal person, you cannot have any firearms. Okay, it's very difficult to get over there. Okay, unless you're in the military, police, or you're in one of those volunteer security forces. This is why the Second Amendment is so important, guys. And we have places here in America that are the same way. There's places here in America that are just as bad, if not worse, as bad as European countries when it comes to gun rights. Okay, so the Israeli citizens, they don't have means to protect themselves. They're just like sitting ducks. So when one of these, crazy jihadists all of a sudden, they get orders to go out and carry out an attack somewhere in a market, no Israeli has any firearm to stop the threat. They have to wait for the military to respond. Okay, so it's a very, very serious situation there in Israel. Earlier this evening, we had an Australian AWACS plane It's a radar plane patrolling in southeastern Poland, which is pretty rare. Okay, and for an Australian AWACS plane to be in Poland, I mean, that is just really strange. And then here we have this massive wall that the Ukrainians have built not far from Bakhmut. This is somewhere in Chasiv Yar, which is west of Bakhmut. They're trying to block the Russian advance. They're trying to slow down the advance as much as they can. So this is very, very concerning, guys. Absolutely very serious times we're living in right now. Kathy Kirk, thank you so much for gifting 50 memberships. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Happy Monday. I hope your Monday is off to a good start. Thank you so much. That's really, really generous of you. Brayon44, thank you so much for the donation. God is good. Amen. I agree 100%. God has a plan. So let me continue here with more news. There was a letter with white powder sent to Donald Trump Jr.'s home. Let me see here. Let me just see. There were some other things that Macron said at this meeting. I want to make sure I read everything here before I skip on to something else. So Macron said, "We will do whatever it takes to ensure that Russia cannot win this war." Okay, we will do whatever it takes. Okay, it's pretty clear to me what that means. And then he also said that he's not going to reveal if they're going to deploy any forces or not. They're going to keep it secret. They even said it himself. Macron said it himself. He said, "I say to you very clearly, on this point, France will maintain its position. It is a strategic ambiguity, and I'm fully behind it." Okay, so we're not going to know when NATO deploys their forces into Ukraine, but they're going to do it. That's what it sounds like, and they're going to keep it secret. Okay, because they want to keep the surprise. They don't want to spill the beans. I'm glad that they're actually learning for a change rather than advertising. You guys remember how stupid those aid packages last year when they would announce every single type of weapon they were sending? It was just the stupidest thing. I just could not believe how stupid that it was. They would announce, to the T, every single weapon. We're going to give 23 of this kind of missile and 52 of this type of missile and these types of night vision goggles and these types of boots. I mean, how stupid can you be? I'm glad that they're finally starting to learn. And Macron said all options are on the table. All options are on the table, okay? And we have Dragon 24 going on right now, which is a NATO exercise with Poland. This is the largest NATO exercise the largest exercise Poland has done with NATO, period. Poland has never done an exercise this big before with NATO. Over 20,000 NATO forces are in Poland right now. Over 3,000 armored vehicles, okay? And I reported to you guys a few days ago that the Polish government has now told their citizens not to take pictures of any convoys that are moving through Poland because there's going to be a massive amount of convoys going to Poland. And also, they're now going to have special road signs in Poland for the convoys, so they know which roads to take, which roads are suitable for, let's say, tanks, which roads are suitable for trucks. So they're going to have special road signs now in Poland that are going to tell the convoys which roads you can take if you're in a tank or you have a flatbed truck with a tank on it, which roads are acceptable and which roads are not. I mean, that's insane, guys. Could you imagine if here in America we had signs like that? If in your town, you had a sign that said you had a giant tank on the road. On the sign, it says, "Yeah, this is a road for tanks. you can drive a tank on this road. I mean, that's just a red flag. Okay, that NATO is preparing for an all-out war with Russia, and I think it's going to happen soon. I think it's coming, guys. We've seen unprecedented buildup of NATO forces in Eastern Europe. Okay, and this massive exercise in Poland. I mean, they're probably doing this because maybe they're going to move some of their force. Those forces are going to actually go into Ukraine, and they want to make sure that they have enough forces in Poland and Eastern Europe in case there is an attack. That they have enough forces there, to defend them. And Poland's foreign minister said that Poland would they would double their military spending to 8% of GDP per year if they feel that they really get threatened by Russia. Poland is already spending like 4.2% of GDP, which is insane. Okay, they're one of the top spenders on defense in all of Europe. I think that they might already be the top spender now, or if not, they're in the top bracket. Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico, who happens to be a Putin lover and a Russia supporter, said earlier today that he cannot say for what purpose the NATO forces are being deployed and what they're going to be doing there. He said he was not allowed to say that, but he basically said that NATO will be deploying forces into Ukraine. What a traitor. What a traitor for him to leak that out. I mean, it's good that I guess it's good that we know, but I mean, he basically, he's helping Russia by doing that. He's basically telling Russia, oh yeah, NATO's going to be moving troops into Ukraine now. Just wanted to let you know. What a traitor. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Let me continue with some more breaking news here. We have a lot more stuff here. I had a radio expert send me an email this morning saying that there's been very unusual activity on some of the strategic forces radio frequencies here in the U.S. Okay, I've been remember last night I did a red alert late last night that nuclear forces are on high alert, and once again you had the usual people complaining, oh, they're always on high alert. Why is that a red alert? And I'm right. I'm always right, and again I was proved right. This radio expert sent me an email today saying that there have been increased amounts of encrypted NATO traffic on 5 or more stations broadcasting high power across high frequency bands last night. Okay, 5 or more stations, NATO stations probably, broadcasting encrypted traffic. Okay, this is NATO 75 STANAG 4481 encrypted traffic. STANAG is that's a standard. That's an encryption standard. Okay, STANAG 4481 NATO 75 encrypted digital message traffic, 5 or more stations broadcasting at high power across high frequency bands during the overnight hours. Between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, there was an unusually high number of high-frequency global communication system radio tests, including Joint Air Force Base Andrews on 8992 and 1175. Okay, if you guys don't know what that means, high-frequency global communication system is the primary frequencies that are used by U.S. strategic forces to communicate. So these frequencies are used by U.S. nuclear bombers, nuclear submarines, our silos where our missiles are. Okay, the launch control facilities where they launch the missiles. Okay, they're all listening in on the HFGCS. In peacetime. In wartime, they would transition over to VLF, very low frequency. because HF does not work in a radioactive environment. The radiation interferes with it, so they would then switch over to VLF, which is more resistant to radiation, and because radiation can interfere with signals. But during peacetime, like now, pre-nuclear war, they use the HF, the high frequency global communication system. And so this person told me that earlier this morning, between 7 and 10 a.m. Central Time here in the U.S., there was an unusually high amount of radio tests, including Joint Air Force Base Andrews. Okay, and it was on the two main high frequency channels that are used by the strategic forces. Now, Andrews Air Force Base is right outside of D.C. Okay, Joint Air Force Base Andrews is right outside of D.C. That's the closest air base to the White House. Okay, if the president had to be evacuated, he would go to Andrews and they would take him out of there very quickly. Okay, so they were doing an unusual number of radio tests. There was increased encrypted traffic overnight, NATO encrypted traffic on HF bands. There were multiple weak signal initial net authorizations, which I'm going to explain this to you because it's very technical. So an initial net authorization is when somebody listening in, they want to join the net, meaning they want to, authenticate themselves with the HF GCS, with the high frequency system. They want to authenticate themselves for whatever reason. Okay. And there were a lot of weak signal authentications. And usually what that means is when there's a weak signal, it usually means that you have tactical units like fighter jets or B-52s that are trying to enter the net, because like the Doomsday planes, they have special radio systems designed so they can, easily transmit over long distances. But, tactical units like fighter jets and bombers, they don't have as strong of a signal. So basically, there was a lot of these weak signal, broadcasts trying to authenticate into the system, which indicates that those were probably fighter jets, nuclear capable fighter jets, and nuclear capable bombers like the B-52s that were in the air, and they were trying to authenticate with the HF GCS. Okay. So that was last night, guys. Okay. That was last night. Lee Billy, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it. February of 2019, I started watching your videos, and I still believe it was the best thing I did. Thank you so much, Lee Billy. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I remember when you started watching. That was pre-COVID. I remember. So let me see what else here. There were also a lot of call signs on the HF GCS that were indicating that there were multiple Doomsday planes that were in the air, but they were not on the flight tracker. Okay, so somebody was calling into the system and communicating the strategic forces, the planes, the Doomsday planes or the nuclear war command and control planes. They were communicating, but they were not on the radar, the flight tracker. Okay, so they were flying with no transponder. Okay, there were also several repeats of priority messages. Okay, with the call sign of big time. They have all these weird, call signs, but there were multiple repeats. When they repeat the same message, they call them emergency action messages. And these are messages that are sent out to U.S. nuclear forces that tell the nuclear forces, different options, different attack options. Okay. When they repeat the same message twice in a short amount of time, it means that it's a very important message. So there were a lot of these repeats where they were repeating the emergency action messages over and over. Okay. So, Guys, our nuclear forces are on high alert for some reason. What that reason is, I don't know. But our nuclear forces are on high alert. And, also we had breaking news today that I reported on earlier that Vladimir Putin signed a decree to consolidate the military districts in Western Russia into two larger military districts, the Western Military District and the Leningrad Military District. Okay, so there used to be like, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 different districts, and he basically consolidated them. And the last time they had these two big military districts in the western part of Russia was, like back in the 1980s. Okay. And a lot of experts believe that this consolidation of the military districts in European Russia is a sign that Russia's preparing for war against the Baltics and against NATO, okay, by consolidating these districts down into two larger districts, because that enables, it makes it easier to communicate between forces, especially if they have to move forces around to, let's say they want to invade the Baltics or Finland or something. If they have to move, a bunch of tanks from somewhere really deep in Russia, if those tanks are in a separate military district, it's kind of more of a hassle, because you have, different standards, you have different ranks and all different kinds of stuff. So by consolidating it, it makes things easier, especially if you're preparing for war. Okay, if you're trying to deploy forces and move them closer, forward deploy them, then consolidating makes sense. Okay, so this is the actual decree here. Okay, creating the Leningrad, guys. I mean, he's calling this the Leningrad Military District. I mean, we're going back in time, guys. Okay, this is Putin's wet dream. Okay, he is a communist. Putin served he served in the KGB. All right, he loves communism. He wants to restore it, and he's calling it the Leningrad Military District now. But that's just another big sign that things are about to go down. What else do I have here? Also, a viewer sent me an email. I want to read to you what this person wrote to me. I live near Camp Lejeune, Seymour Johnson, Fort Bragg, Cherry Point, and Camp Johnson in eastern North Carolina. The amount of service people posting big items such as cars, furniture, appliances on Marketplace has been off the hook. I grew up here, and it reminds me of the classifieds during Desert Storm's beginning. Desert Storm was in the early 90s. Most are openly saying they are being deployed in a week. Usually orders go in between April and May, and you report for duty on July 1st. Very eerie feeling here. So this viewer is saying that, they live in North Carolina near Camp Lejeune, Fort Bragg, etc., all the main bases there. And, there's a lot of servicemen and women that are posting their furniture, cars, appliances on various classifieds. They're selling them, okay, because they're about to get deployed. So they're selling their stuff, okay, because they're going to be away for who knows how long, a year, maybe more. So there's a massive amount of servicemen in North Carolina posting their stuff on classifieds, and he's saying he hasn't seen this since the beginning of Desert Storm, okay? So if they're posting stuff on classifieds now, that means they're going to be getting deployed in the coming months, weeks. All right. Also, we have major breaking news coming in from Transnistria. Apparently, attack drones were launched towards Ukraine from Transnistria today for the first time since the war started. And this prompted air raid warnings across parts of Ukraine. All right. So now Transnistria is launching drones towards Ukraine, guys. I mean, that is huge. That is very concerning. Okay, and we know this Wednesday, the government of Transnistria is going to be formally appealing to Vladimir Putin to annex their country. Okay, they want to be annexed. They want to be absorbed into the Russian Federation so they can be under Russia's protection. from Moldova and Romania and Ukraine. So Transnistria on Wednesday is going to be formally begging Putin to annex them. Okay. So now they launched these drones. I think that was like some kind of offering to Putin, showing that they're willing to, have some skin in the game, essentially. So what's going on, Chris RV? Cat Sui says, keep calm and prepare. Bailey, thank you so much for the emails. I'll take a look. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a look at those emails. I appreciate it. Rodney Middleton, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Real estate photography of CDA. Michigan lifestyle, how's it going? So let me continue with some more of the breaking news here. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz reiterated his refusal to send Ukraine the long-range Taurus missiles at a press conference today, days after the German parliament rejected a measure explicitly calling for Taurus to be approved. Taurus missiles, which have a range of up to 500 kilometers, have been the subject of extensive discussion since Ukraine submitted a request to acquire the weapons in May of last year. Scholz is reportedly against sending Taurus missiles to Kyiv because he fears the move will draw Germany into the war. Ukraine has received other long-range missiles such as the Storm Shadow from the UK and French-made Scalp missiles. Germany's parliament supported a notion to deliver unspecified long-range weapons to Ukraine on February 22nd. So Germany is going to be sending some kind of unspecified long-range weapon. So they want to send Ukraine these long-range weapons. That's the new thing now, is the long-range weapons. But Germany doesn't want to give them the Taurus missiles. The same day it rejected sending Taurus missiles, Scholz repeated past claims at the press conference today that the targeting for Taurus is different than those used in the Storm Shadow and Scalp and cannot be done from Germany. Okay, so something about the targeting. I don't know if they use a special GPS or what it is, but he doesn't want basically Germany to provide the targeting information, because then that would make them involved in the war. Okay, so Ukraine is not going to be getting the Taurus missiles, but they will be getting some other kind of long-range missiles from Germany. Yo Daddy 4, thank you for the donation. A full division's worth of Wisconsin National Guard troops are getting ready to deploy in late 2024. Even our artillery unit is getting ready for it. Wow, you hear that, guys? We have a viewer here saying a full division of Wisconsin National Guard is going to be deploying in late 2024, including artillery. Wow. So I'm going to continue on with the news. Light Source Engraving, good to see you. Yes, prepare, practice, and persevere. That's right. Thank you guys for all the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. So continuing on, the Russian city of Belgorod apparently was targeted by some Ukrainian missiles or something earlier today. The governor of Belgorod said that 6 aerial targets were shot down near Graveron, which is a little village outside of Belgorod. And the Houthis in Yemen have now damaged at least 4 undersea communications cables in the southern Red Sea, belonging to AAE-1, CCOM, EIG, and TGN systems. And these cables run between Saudi Arabia and Djibouti. They've cut 4 undersea cables, guys. The Houthis have now cut 4 undersea cables. Okay, so that situation is spiraling out of control. Here you can see all these cables going through the Red Sea. Okay, that's just another thing that's getting bad. In addition to the situation with Ukraine, so we have a lot of stuff going on. But I really do believe that the big thing this year is going to be Ukraine. Last year it was kind of Israel towards the end of last year. Israel was the big deal, and the Middle East. I do think that though Ukraine is going to overtake that, and that's going to be the biggest threat right now, unless Israel goes into Lebanon, which it seems like they will. So we're going to have, two massive situations this year. Okay, we're going to have Israel going into Lebanon, and then we're going to have, NATO forces going into Ukraine to try to stop Russia from from steamrolling all the front lines. So we're going to have those two situations that are going to really escalate. Okay, so it's going to be a wild year. It's going to be crazy. What's going on, Joe? Good to see you, Joe. What's going on, Mud and Munitions? Good to see you in here. Yeah, right before the election. That's right. Um, that's exactly right. So let's see, what else do I have for you? There were some earthquakes in weird places today. We had a 4.9 magnitude earthquake in Idaho, just north of Boise. There were actually three quakes in the same area. There were two aftershocks. There was a 4.9, 10 kilometers north of Smith's Ferry, Idaho. And there were two aftershocks nearby, a 2.8 and a 2.7. And that's pretty weird. And what's even more concerning is we had a 2.6 magnitude earthquake in Yellowstone on the 23rd, 3 days ago. Okay, in Yellowstone, there was a 2.6, which is pretty strong. For those of you guys who don't know, Yellowstone is a giant volcano. It's a super volcano. Okay, if Yellowstone were to blow, it would be the equivalent of a nuclear war. Okay, there would be ash all over the world. We would have a volcanic winter. We'd probably skip one summer, maybe several summers. There would be food shortages and global cooling. Aside from just the sheer annihilation of it, all the areas near Yellowstone will be completely obliterated by the magma. The blast and everything. So that's very concerning. Let me see what else here. Um, in the early hours of Saturday, February 24th, an explosive device was detonated outside of the Alabama Attorney General's office building in Montgomery, Alabama. Thankfully, no staff or personnel were injured by the kaboom. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall said no additional details were provided. So some kind of device was detonated outside of the Attorney General's office in Alabama. That is very concerning, guys. Okay, we didn't really hear too much about that on the news, did we? Potentially some domestic terrorism, maybe Islamic extremists, or who the hell knows. Dodgers fan says a KC-135 is flying in and out of Palmdale Plant 42. Interesting. Yeah, they could be refueling some of the nuclear warplanes. Yeah, they could be refueling some of the nuclear warplanes. What's going on, Diva's mom? Good to see you. So here we have a picture showing potential invasion routes that the Russians could take into the Baltics. Okay, this was war gamed out by some Polish military experts. And so they show here all the major battle groups that Russia has along the borders with Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, and which ways that they would enter. You can see the little arrows here. Okay, so I know a lot of people think it's crazy that, Russia would never attack NATO. They would never do it. Well, look, Putin is not stupid. He knows that Biden is based on Putin's experience with Biden so far, he knows Biden is not going to really do a whole lot. Just like they didn't really do much for Ukraine. I mean, they gave Ukraine the bare minimum. Now they're going to have to send their troops in. Just absolutely insane, guys. Things are really getting crazy. Brittany Hope, how's it going, Brittany Hope? Let me see what else is here. Hazmat teams are on the scene at the Florida home of Donald Trump Jr. after he opened a letter and white powder came out. Multiple fire trucks and personnel in hazmat suits have been spotted outside Donald Trump Jr.'s home in Jupiter, Florida, on Monday evening after he received a letter containing an unidentified white powder. According to 3 sources familiar with the matter, Trump Jr., the eldest son of former President Donald Trump, opened the envelope, causing the white powder to fly out, as reported by one of the sources. A representative for the former president's son stated that it remains unclear what exactly the substance was, but confirmed that Trump Jr.'s life does not appear to be in danger. Okay, get prepared, guys. Things are really getting crazy. And, earlier today, Israel launched a really deep strike into Lebanon. They hit a target 60 miles into Lebanon in Baalbek, okay? Sweden's membership has been approved into NATO. Here we have a video showing those B-1 strategic nuclear bombers that the U.S. moved into Sweden. And one of them was flying today over there in northern Sweden. Here's one of the B-1s. You can see it coming in. They sent 2. The U.S. sent 2 of these. These are nuclear-capable bombers, guys, in Sweden. Literally just, I don't know how many miles to the Russian border, but, I mean, it's not far, okay? So these are supersonic bombers, and they are nuclear capable. They're not currently deployed with nuclear weapons officially. Okay, officially they are not deployed with nuclear weapons, but that doesn't mean that they can't carry nuclear weapons. Okay, they're capable of carrying nuclear weapons. They just don't, as part of the START treaty that Obama signed with Putin. Okay. These planes are incredible. They're imagine like a B-52 or B-2 stealth bomber that can fly as fast as a fighter jet. I mean, they're supersonic. They can go faster than the speed of sound, and they can carry, 170,000 pounds of weapons or more. I don't remember the exact number, but they can carry them as much as a B-52 or even almost as much as a B-2 or around the same as a B-2. Okay, so they can carry a lot of firepower, and they're right next to Russia now, okay, in northern Sweden. Okay, but Sweden has joined, they have been approved to join NATO. They haven't officially been sworn in, I guess you could say, but that's just a formality. So Sweden is basically in NATO right now, okay? Kat Sui says 500 kilometers. Yeah, that's not that far. 500 kilometers is like, from where I live to New York City. It's really, it's like going from DC to New York City. It's not that far. So they're very close to Russia now. So check that video out, guys. These are some really impressive machines. Look at that thing landing. Okay, so things are really escalating, guys. I'm not trying to, start your week off with, fear and stuff like that. I'm sorry if it's very intense news, but I'm an intense person, and this is a serious situation, so I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat what's going on like a lot of other people do. And they just try to tell you, oh, everything is okay. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. It's not okay. Things are escalating in the Middle East and Europe, in Asia as well. So, we have to make sure we're getting prepared as much as possible. Rodney Middleton, thanks for sending that email. I appreciate it. I haven't been able to really check my email because I get flooded with so many emails. I don't even check my email anymore because I get so much email. It's impossible for me to read it anymore. So it's hard for me to read it all. I'm sorry. But thank you for thinking of me and sending it. And I hope you're off to a good start this week. Um, so let me just see here. I want to show you guys a map here. Um, Let me just check and see if I covered everything. Um, it's interesting in Hungary they voted like almost 100% to approve Sweden's membership to NATO. 88, or I'm sorry, 188 of the politicians in the Hungarian parliament voted yes, and only 6 politicians in Hungary voted no. 6 out of 194. So you're looking at over 95% of Hungary's parliament voted to approve Sweden's membership. So a lot of people think that, Hungary is this colony of Russia, and because of Orban, everybody thinks that all Hungarians are like Orban and that they're all like Putin lovers and Putin sympathizers, but really they're not. It's just Orban is basically in charge, but that doesn't mean that everybody agrees with him. Um, Let me just check and see some other headlines here. The CIA director Bill Burns made a secret visit to Ukraine last Thursday, according to the New York Times. So, isn't it interesting that the CIA director visited Ukraine last Thursday, and then today, in France, they had that meeting about whether to deploy troops into Ukraine. Okay, so isn't that interesting? The Ukrainian General Oleksandr Syrsky has drafted 2 plans for the war, and which plan they choose will depend on on whether the U.S. decides to provide aid and what kind of aid they get. Ukraine's military is saying that Russian forces are concentrating near Kupiansk, which is that area of northeastern Ukraine. Ukraine took like a huge swath of territory back like a year ago, and it looks like Russia's going to try to take that back from them. So just absolutely insane. And then, over the weekend, I broke the news that the Ukrainian intelligence chiefs are warning that the Crimean Bridge is going to be destroyed. First, we had Kirill Budanov, the leader of Ukraine's military intelligence, saying that civilians should not use the Crimean Bridge because they could hit it this year. And then we had the leader of the SBU, forgot his name. He said that they're going to definitely destroy the Crimean Bridge. So Ukraine is going to go for it. They have the missiles now. They just maybe need F-16s, and then once they get the F-16s, they're just going to go all out. But that's assuming that Russia doesn't just steamroll through, Ukraine and start taking large swaths of territory, which could happen. And that's why, the NATO forces are going to be going in soon. So look at these bombers, guys. These bombers are no joke. No joke. let me show you guys what we have going on right now with the flights. Let me let me just switch here. First, I want to just show you again this picture here of the Baltics getting invaded. I had another picture from also some Polish military experts showing like how they would invade Poland from Belarus, but they would basically go into like eastern Poland, and then Russian troops would come down from Kaliningrad. But Russia has a lot of forces here, okay, in Belarus and areas next to the Baltic countries. They have a lot of forces there, so it's totally possible, guys. We don't have a lot of forces in the Baltics. We just moved a lot of forces for this big exercise that they're doing. 20,000 troops in Poland now, but before that, we didn't have much. Just a couple thousand NATO troops in the Baltics, and maybe just a few tanks. That's it. No big amounts of equipment in the Baltics. And I think that's because they know that they don't want to send too many forces there in the Baltics because they're afraid they're going to get killed or they're going to lose a lot of equipment. I want to just show you on Google Earth, the terrain here along the border with Russia and Belarus, and it's just mostly forests. Not a lot of population density here. Not a lot of military bases. Here's the Suwalki Gap. Okay, this is Kaliningrad here, and there is a very small multinational NATO battle group here in Altus, Lithuania. But it's very small. I don't know how many troops they have, maybe a few hundred, maybe a couple of tanks. That's it. The closest large battle group is in Kaunas up here. They have a big military base here in Kaunas. But look at how far Kaunas is from, Belarus or Kaliningrad. I mean, if they come in here fast, by the time those troops can react, it's going to be too late. And Poland has more forces here. They have a bunch of forces in the northeastern part spread out in various areas. But, as far as the Baltics go, they don't have, the Baltics don't have big armies, guys. I don't know the exact numbers. I'd have to look it up, but, they don't have more than like 50,000 troops each, 50,000 for their entire army. That's it. They don't even have their own fighter jets. None of the Baltic countries have fighter jets, guys. Okay. They are reliant on Poland and NATO countries to patrol their airspace with F-16s. Polish F-16s will patrol the airspace of these countries to make sure that, Russia is not flying in there or any other, unauthorized people are crossing their airspace. So they don't even have fighter jets, guys. They don't have much. It would be easy pickings, basically, for Russia. And then there's a lot of Russians that live there too. So Putin, he could make the excuse that, oh, we're going here to protect the Russians. The Russians are being persecuted here, so we have to go in and protect them. Resistor, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good night, good Monday night. Thank you so much. Is there a modern equivalent to the HF radio teletype? That's a good question. I'd have to look into it. I'm not a radio expert, to be honest. I know some stuff about radios, but I'm not a radio expert. Yeah, almost 100 memberships tonight, Ross. Yeah, almost 100 memberships. It's incredible. Thank you guys for all your support. Earth Angel Anna, good to see you. I appreciate your support, Earth Angel. Yeah, people are complaining about advertisements. I mean, what do you guys expect? Nothing's free in this world. I wish it was, but nothing's free, unfortunately. At least you don't have to pay to watch me, right? Some people charge. You have to go through a paywall. You have to pay, whatever they charge. Like Alex Jones or some of these other guys, they charge a lot of money for you to watch their videos. So Jeff Roberts says many forms of RTTY or similar text-based stuff. Okay, RTTY. Wow, up north. Thank you so much for gifting 50 memberships. That's incredible, man. Thank you so much. Wow. Hope you're having a good Monday. That's incredible that you would gift me that much. That's amazing. Somebody donated $2 here, but I can't read their name. It's in Cyrillic. It looks like either Ukrainian or Russian writing, but they gifted $2. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the moderators again. I appreciate you guys so much. I wouldn't be able to do these chats with so many people in the chat if I didn't have reliable moderators, that know what to do and are able to deal with, all the nasty people out there. Bailey says, check your email. I got a video of planes in the air today, including a refueling right above me. Wow. Okay. I'll definitely look into it. But Dennis, okay. Thank you, Dennis. Dennis, KY Survival. Good to see you. Rob Dutcher, how's it going? The membership is $1 a month. $1 a month is the membership here on YouTube. And then I have a Patreon. I have a Patreon as well. Yeah, I'll check that out. The video. Bailey, thank you so much for sending that. So that's the latest breaking news, guys. That's the main thing I wanted to cover tonight was NATO potentially now sending forces into Ukraine. Okay, I mean that is just absolutely huge news. Absolutely huge. Okay, I want to just show you guys quickly the terrain here in the Baltics and Poland. It's not really, like I said, not very populated. It's very flat. The only thing is there is a lot of swamplands, especially in Poland. I'm not so sure about the Baltics because I haven't really explored the Baltics that much. But, I've been to Poland many times, and there's a lot of wetlands in the northeastern part of Poland. In general, there's a lot of wetlands in Poland, which is a natural barrier. All kinds of wetlands. I mean, basically all of eastern Poland and northern Poland is just mostly wetlands with a lot of thick forests in between. So big movements of armored vehicles is not going to be that easy. But as far as the Baltics go, I think they're a little drier. I don't think they have as many wetlands. Just looking at the map here, I don't see a whole lot. There's, very low population density here. Not a lot of military bases that would be able to fortify these remote areas, and the Russians just have so many options. If they want to go in, they can go in. They have so many different options. I mean, even like look at Lithuania. You have Vilnius. Vilnius is like literally 10 miles from the Belarus border here. And there's actually a highway that goes straight to Vilnius. And it's because Lithuania was part of the USSR at one time, they made the roads back in the USSR. They made the roads just, to connect all these Soviet republics. They made the roads in such a way that they could connect, everything together quickly. So you'll see like a road that goes directly to Vilnius from Belarus. There's also in Poland, there's a highway that goes directly from Belarus to Warsaw. But I mean, here you have, 20 miles, 18 miles from the center of Vilnius to the border of Belarus. That's not much. That's not much distance, guys. 18 miles. I mean, you can walk that in half a day, or maybe a day, depending on your physical fitness. But that's not a lot. That's like right next to them. Growing. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Growing. I appreciate your support. Thanks for watching tonight. Hope you're having a good Monday. Our Eric High Dollar says, "Can you do a one-time donation?" Yeah, you can do a one-time donation either through YouTube, through the chat, or you can use my PayPal. The link to my PayPal is at the top of the chat. You can also donate here through YouTube. If you donate here through YouTube, YouTube takes 30%. So if you're going to do a larger donation, it makes sense to do it through PayPal unless you want to give 30% of it to YouTube. But thank you for considering the donation. I appreciate it. John Kennel says, "Thank you for being a watchman on our walls as you can. Thank you, brother." Yeah, there's so much going on. We're living in the end times, guys. You know, I'm a Christian, as a lot of you guys know. This is not like a Christian only channel. I'm not like a pastor. This is not like a ministry. Okay, but I am a Christian, and I do talk about the Bible a lot. And I mean, it's common sense. We're in the end times, guys, and there's nobody. I don't care who you are. There's no single person that is going to be able to reverse everything. It's too late. Nobody's going to be able to fix all these problems with Israel, with Russia. There's no single person that's going to be able to do it. Only Jesus Christ can fix the world. Okay. There's a lot of people getting really, amped up about the election coming up here in the U.S. and a lot of Christians watch me, and I just want to warn all the Christians out there not to fall into idolatry. Don't place all your hopes and dreams into a candidate, a politician, okay? Because you may get disappointed. And furthermore, you're borderlining on idolatry, because what you're doing is you're worshiping a politician, another man or a woman, whatever, another person, instead of worshiping Jesus Christ. So just be careful with that. It's good to support your candidates, and everybody has their own candidates that they like. I'm not going to talk about who should be. I'll take anybody but Biden. Okay, but just be careful not to fall into idolatry and thinking that politics is the answer, and if we just change our president, everything is going to be solved. No, it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I'm not trying to be negative. That's just the reality. There's no one person that's going to reverse everything. That's all the damage that's been done over the last 20 years. There's no single person that's just going to go in and change everything, and we're going to go back to prosperity. There's too much chaos now. There's too much going on, and I mean, we can slow it down a little bit. We can slow down the chaos and maybe delay the end, but there's no reversing it. We're heading down towards the end times. And I don't mean to sound like, oh, it's hopeless, or that I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy your life and that, but I'm just saying, don't put all your trust in politicians, because you're going to be disappointed. And just look around and you'll see everything going on in the world today, all these wars, all the different, earthquakes, volcanoes, diseases, AI. You got guys like Elon Musk that are trying to create chips to put into your brain. Okay, Elon Musk with Neuralink, he wants to put, metal wires into your brain so you can, plug your brain into computers and they can read your mind. That's what Elon Musk wants to do, guys. They want to, put a USB port on the side of your head with little wires the size of hairs that are going to stick into your brain. And that USB port, they're going to plug you into the computer, and then they're going to be able to see everything you've thought about in the last 24 hours. That's where we're going, and that's what Elon Musk wants to do. Neuralink, that's mark of the beast technology, guys. Okay, a lot of people are being duped into thinking that Elon Musk is a champion for Christianity and a champion for conservatism, and he's not. Okay, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, but you have AI, you have all these weird technologies. I mean, all the genetic engineering. Putin said the other day that they're going to build a cancer vaccine. That's what Putin said. I mean, that is just insane, guys. Do you really? I mean, genetic engineering. I mean, the U.S. military is trying to build real life Captain America. Okay, they have the DARPA. DARPA is working on building super soldiers that can run 50 miles an hour and regenerate from gunshot wounds. And I mean, just like real life Captain America. Basically, they're trying to make that right now. Okay, and even Putin was talking about it like 2 weeks ago. Putin was saying that that they have technology now that they can genetically engineer soldiers to be like super soldiers on the battlefield, that they can sleep 1 hour a day, and they have like immunity from everything. They can eat like a pile of poop, and that would be good enough food for them. They can take multiple gunshots and sleep it off. That's what they're trying to build. I mean, all this technology, guys, it's not going to go away. Cloning. I mean, they cloned the sheep like 20 years ago, guys. What do you think they're doing now with all that crap, all that technology, all the genetic engineering, all this stuff? So it's obvious that we're in the end times. So get right with God. And I'm not trying to sound negative. Again, I'm not trying to make it seem like, oh, it's hopeless. The world is ending. Oh man, I'm not trying to get you sad. I'm just trying to, point out the facts. It doesn't mean that the end is tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your life, have kids, live a happy life, enjoy God's blessings. But, just be aware of what's going on here. Oregon Preparedness says the biotech is only going to get worse. Yeah, exactly. The biotech, exactly. It's only going to get worse. The biotech, right? I mean, they cloned the sheep like 20 years ago. Okay, imagine what they have now. I mean, for all we know, guys, they could build an entire army of clones. I mean, they can literally clone 100,000 troops and send them to the front line as disposable soldiers. I mean, for all we know, there could be cloned troops fighting in Ukraine right now. I mean, they could build like these factories where they just clone, 100,000 troops, and they just produce them, in these giant cloning factories. They grow these disposable soldiers, and they just send them to the front lines. That's what they probably want to do. They probably want to do that, I'm sure. And then they're building also the real life Terminators, those robots that Elon Musk is building, that the real life Terminator robots. They want to build those as well. It's just crazy. So anyway, let me just check some other stuff here. I want to check some other news here. See, somebody sent me some photos here. Um, Bailey sent me some videos of aerial refuelers. Let me see if I can share that. This was sent by Bailey, one of the viewers here. She recorded some planes flying over her house, aerial refuelers. So, I get videos like this every day. I get multiple emails a day, people telling me that they see weird stuff over their house that they've never seen before, military activity, just tons and tons of, videos like this. I'm trying to find the right video. Oh, there it is. Something, yeah, you see right there? You can see something right there getting refueled in the air. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see, looks like a KC-135 refueling something right there. So I get dozens of emails like this every single day. People saying that they see military planes and stuff, that they've never seen before in their area. So for those of you guys just tuning in, you can rewind to the beginning to get the main part of the emergency alert. I'm not going to restate the whole thing, but essentially, NATO is planning to send troops to Ukraine. It was confirmed by Emmanuel Macron earlier today. Big news, because the Ukrainian front lines are collapsing now, essentially, and they want to prevent Russia from coming in and taking everything away, even more than what they've already taken. Let me see if I have any other footage here from Bailey. I don't know if Bailey, if you're still watching, I'm sharing your videos that you sent me now. Here's another one. Some kind of plane there. Let's see here. Not sure what that is. Weird looking plane. Let's see. This one was the best, I think. No, wait, not that one. I lost it. Looks like some kind of orb. I don't know if you guys see that. Some kind of white orb in the sky there. Interesting. So let me see. I forgot a big headline here. The IAEA warns that Iran is building up their uranium stockpile, and they're still barring senior monitors. Report notes decrease in amount of uranium enriched. A short step from weapons grade material. Blah blah blah. Iran has further increased its total stockpile of uranium, according to a report by the UN nuclear watchdog seen by the Associated Press on Monday, and it continues to bar the agency's most seasoned inspectors from monitoring its nuclear program. The IAEA also said in a second confidential report distributed to member states that Tehran made no progress in explaining the presence of man-made uranium particles found at 2 locations. The IAEA estimated in its quarterly report that as of February 10, Iran's total enriched uranium stockpile was at 12,182 pounds, an increase of 2,289 pounds since the last quarterly report in November. So they've increased their enriched uranium by 2,000 pounds. That's like 25%. That's insane. That's a lot. What's going on, Kinkoi? Good to see you. Let me continue with this article here. It also said that according to its assessment, Iran has an estimated 267 pounds of uranium enriched up to 60% purity, which represents a decrease of 14 pounds since the last report. The decrease is the result of Iran having diluted some of its 60% enriched uranium in recent weeks with lower grade material. According to the IAEA's definition, around 92.5 pounds of uranium enriched to 60% is the amount at which creating one atomic weapon is theoretically possible. The 60% purity is just a short technical step away from weapons grade levels of 90%. Okay, so Iran is basically on the verge of having nuclear weapons. Okay, they have 267 pounds of enriched uranium up to 60%, and the IAEA says you only need 92.5 pounds to build one weapon. So you divide 267 by 92. What is that? Roughly 3 atomic weapons they could make with what they have now. So that's enough for them to start testing. They can build underground testing sites in Iran, and we won't even know about it because they have massive mountains in Iran, and they won't. They can hide their tests in those underground in those mountains, and we would never know. Okay. Dodgers fan says urgent message. What is that urgent message? Um, Iran has 260 pounds of enriched uranium. All you need is 92 pounds to make a bomb. So do the math. They have enough to make 3 bombs, as far as we know officially. I mean, who knows? It could be more than that. Um, but they could build like an underground testing site in the mountains there. It's the whole country is just mountains. There's tons of places for them to build these testing sites underground, and we would never know. Greg, look up nuclear bunkers article on Saturday. We are in UK nuke shelters. Lorna sleeping with the cell phone still on the chat. Kinkoi, thank you for sharing the Mason leather. Yeah, if you guys are interested in getting some quality leather products, check out masonleather.com. All the leather is made by a veteran and small business owner. Use the promo code NY10 to get 10% off. They specialize in making cartridge cuffs for rifles to hold ammunition. Good quality leather. Highly recommend it. And I'm friends with the owner, very good guy. B-52 and B-2 are flying in Palmdale. How do you know that? Did you see them? Or are you talking about on the flight tracker? Soil radio operator, I shared all your info. Thanks for sharing that with me. That was very helpful. I was able to, spread the message out. Thanks for telling me all that. I really appreciate it. Let me check the flight tracker. Someone's saying that there's B2s over Palmdale. There is a KC-135 over there, aerial refueler, but I don't see any B-52 on this tracker here. But it must be flying with their transponders off. The C-17. Yeah, right here. There's the KC-135. So you're saying you saw a B-52 and a B-2 flying with your own eyes, Dodgers fan? I hear them and they're on the flight tracker. Interesting. I don't see them on the flight tracker here. Let me try the other one. Sometimes you have to check both. Yeah, I only see I see a C-17. I see a KC-135, but I don't see a B-52. And the B-2s you're not going to see on the flight tracker. You're only going to see the B-2s will never be on a flight tracker. You'll never be able to see them on the flight tracker. The only time you can catch a B-2 may be radio transmissions, but even then they probably use encrypted, transmissions. So the B-52s are at the Love Shack. Interesting. I am in the flight path of Palmdale. Nothing has been flying over us. All has been quiet. Okay, thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Wouldn't it be wise to make false flights on the tracker? Yeah, it's very possible. They could do that. They could do that. Greg, I sent you more videos. Also saw a B2 today. Oh, wow. Interesting. Interesting. I'll take a look. You saw a B2. Thank you for sharing that. So that's some of the latest breaking news that I have. Let me keep reading here. Iran has enough 60% enriched uranium for roughly 3 nuclear weapons if further enriched to 90%. When you include Iran's stockpile of 20% enriched uranium and 5%, it has enough material for several additional bombs. Iran would only need a couple of weeks to produce that weapons grade material, but probably much longer, a year or more, to build an actual bomb it could deliver. So they're saying that Iran only needs a couple of weeks to produce a bomb, uh, or to produce the weapons grade material that they can then build a bomb out of. So, a very serious situation with Iran. I personally think Iran already has nuclear weapons. They're just lying to us, and they're trying to, downplay the severity of it. But I think they already have it. And just on the topic of nuclear, in case you guys missed my update over the weekend, uh, there were a bunch of powerful kabooms reported in the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant right outside of the power plant. Let me read this to you. This is coming from the IAEA. This was posted 3 days ago. Powerful kabooms shook windows at the site of Ukraine's Zaporizhia nuclear power plant this week, underlining the urgent need for maximum military restraint to reduce the danger of a nuclear accident as the conflict enters its third year. Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi of the International Atomic Energy Agency said today. IAEA experts stationed at the ZNPP reported hearing kabooms every day over the past week, including one last Friday that appeared to occur close to the plant itself. There were also several kabooms yesterday, that's on the 22nd. One of them was unusually loud, indicating very close proximity to the site. It was not possible to conclusively determine the origin or direction of the blasts, with the exception of yesterday's large kaboom, which, according to the ZNPP, was part of field training with no shelling of the plant nor any damage to it. There were no physical injuries or casualties, the plant noted. The ZNPP separately informed the IAEA team that a mine went kaboom outside the site perimeter earlier yesterday, that's the 22nd, without causing damage or injury. I remain deeply concerned that the nuclear safety and security situation at Europe's largest nuclear power plant, located on the front line of the war, the reports of our experts indicate possible combat action not far away from the site. Once again, I call on all parties to strictly observe the 5 concrete principles for the protection of the plant and avoid any attack or military activity that could threaten nuclear safety and security there, Director General Grossi said. In another indication of persistent nuclear safety and security risks facing the ZNPP, the site remains without backup power 3 days after the connection to its last 330 kilovolt line was cut due to a problem that occurred on the other side of the Dnipro River. So their last backup power line was cut. They don't have any backup power lines anymore, guys. All they have is the one main line, the 750 kilovolt line, and that's it. Soil radio operator says there have been no HF messages for 2 hours. Unlikely any TACAMO or tactical units are currently airborne at the moment. Thank you, Soil Radio. I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. So this is very concerning, very, very concerning. Only one main power line to the plant. All the backup lines are down. The ZNPP is still receiving the electricity it needs for reactor cooling and other nuclear safety and security functions from its only remaining 750 kilovolt line, but it currently has no backup options available for off-site power. The ZNPP said it had been informed by the Ukrainian grid operator that the 330 kilovolt line was not expected to be reconnected to the site before March 1st. The situation leaves the plant very vulnerable to further disruptions in the supply of off-site power. It is essential that the backup power line becomes available again as soon as possible, Director General Grossi said. Earlier this week, the IAEA team went to the site's 750 kilovolt electrical switchyard and observed that its status was unchanged since a previous visit last month. In addition to the single line that remains connected, the team saw spare parts for the repair of a second line out of 4 750 kilovolt lines before the conflict. However, the site has no plans to start the repair work due to the conflict. Yesterday, the IAEA team observed the periodic testing of one of the emergency diesel generators of reactor unit number 4, the last line of defense to provide the electricity needed in case of a loss of all off-site power, which has happened 8 times since the start of the armed conflict. The experts also met with the ZNPP's electrical department to discuss the maintenance plans for the year, and also visited the electrical control room where they could observe the status of the on-site and off-site power systems. The IAEA experts were informed that all aging cabling and equipment related to the safety systems, including switchboards and batteries, have been replaced. The team performed a walkdown of all 6 main control rooms in the reactors on February 19th. The team was able to collect safety parameters in reactor units 2, 3, and 4 and had the opportunity to view the regulatory authorizations of personnel. It's still not looking good over there in the Zaporizhia power plant. It's still not looking good. It's still on the verge of a complete meltdown. It takes less than 5 minutes to start the meltdown process. Yep. Bailey says, if you want to learn about radio comms, what are the best resources? I have a Baofeng UV5R. There's a lot of different resources out there. The best thing to do is find someone that knows about radios and ask them questions, because it's easiest to learn from someone else rather than reading stuff. You can also watch videos. There's a lot of There's a lot of channels on YouTube that specialize in ham radios. Yes, I just talked about the 5 cables that were cut. Shine one. Yes, I talked about that. I talked about that just about 15 minutes ago. Yep. They were cut in the Red Sea. The Houthis cut them. Uh, the KC-135 flying in Ukraine and Moldova. Yeah, I noticed that too. I'm not super concerned about it. It's definitely a little bit odd, but I don't. I wouldn't say that it's too unusual. Um, there was there was a AWACS plane down there earlier today. My guess is they're probably collecting targeting information for the Ukrainians. They're collecting information on Russian forces in Crimea. Yeah, there's an aerial refueler near Constanta. I would say that that's not super unusual, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. I appreciate it. So I think that's pretty much it for all the breaking news. I think I'm going to end the live stream earlier tonight because I need to get some rest. I didn't sleep enough the last couple days, um, but I will be back tomorrow. I'm probably going to do a 24/7, or not a 24/7, but I'm going to have a stream going tomorrow during the day with multiple cameras across Europe, and I'll have breaking news on the ticker, and I'll update that throughout the day, and then I'll do my normal video updates. So I'll have another update tomorrow in the afternoon sometime. But major breaking news, guys. NATO looks like it's going to be going into Ukraine any day now. All these troops going to Eastern Europe. Mud and Munitions, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. K. Paul, thank you for showing up. You're one of the best moderators out there in YouTube. Thank you so much. Z. Cali, thank you for showing up. Michelle Burson, good to see you. Diva's mom. Timothy. Tim Webb, thank you. Aldo, it was good to see you, Aldo. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to really converse much in the chat tonight, but I will be back live again this week, so we'll have more time to chat. I just wanted to share this information out with you guys. Very serious situation going on. Ross Snyderman, thanks for all your support. Appreciate it. So I'm going to be back tomorrow. I will be doing video updates, and I'll probably have a stream going during the day potentially. So thank you, Bailey, for the videos you sent. I appreciate it. Kin Koi, it was good to see you tonight. Titan Intel, thanks for tuning in. Soil Radio Operator says, get some rest. You're going to need it for later this week and into March. Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you, Dennis. Have a good night, Dennis. Ross says all day stream. Good night, Terry Williams. Jeff Carrero, good night. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.